was some fake story that went out, and even some of the mainstream newspapers had it all up. We have a digital magazine, and I ensure, even though we're not like mainstream yet, but I'm always very careful. Is it verified? Can we confirm? But these mainstream media, they were putting it all up, very unverified news, putting things up. So what people now say that the gatekeepers are no more, they're non-existent. We even saw a TV that had some fake story video that was unverified, and they said it was something, but it was another thing. I'm not going to go into the details. Is it true? The gatekeepers, do we still have them? Do we have the editors? And also, with a rush to be the first to break a story, how what are some checks and balances? Because this is all about truth, transparency, and trust. Because every time when you have to now fact check or do a retraction, we're sorry, we delete this tweet because there's a trust level is reducing. How do you ensure that you are disseminating the truth at all times, or at least a very high percentage?
The concept of citizen journalism has taken the steam out of gatekeeping. So now, in our world, the world of disruptors, the traditional journalist has lost his job. The editors are no longer there. I have been an editor for the past 32 years.
Oh, wow.
I have seen it all. I've traveled around, but the way technology has disrupted journalism is remarkable. So everybody is now an editor. You just open an account. Once you have access to the internet, just internet account, you are an editor. Anything that comes, you just forward. One rumor here and then one gossip here, you just put it out there. But that has not removed the steam from authenticity that will allow the world to say, oh, this is a credible medium. So, in this dispensation, citizen journalism has taken journalism out of context. Right now, the editors used to be magistrates, but journalism has become a conversation. And this conversation is multifaceted. The good, the bad, and the ugly. You can see. So people should not be worried. But you have software to check your facts. If you want to check, it's not difficult these days. You invest in it, we invest in it, you can check your facts. But people should not be worried about inaccuracies here and there. You just try to filter what you would like to watch, what you would like to believe. Also invest in it. As educated people, we can invest in the software to check your facts. Because some people specialize in just forwarding to you something, one will be trending, that they just released this one now. Sometimes it's 5 years old. And they just forward it to you that it's happening now in Abuja. That some people have just escaped from one prison and all sorts of things. So it's interesting, but we are not going to return to the old ways because that is the new world. Journalism has become a conversation. So, the second question, the second part of the question,
right, is about how you ensure that are you ensuring that you're disseminating the truth?
Well, how we ensure that if you care about your reputation, if you care about trust, you have to be transparent in your news gathering process. This transparency, you gather it, you ensure that The reporters check their facts and the editors to ensure that the facts are checked. Because once people lose confidence in you as a product, advertisers will run away from you. So you destroy the market. For us at The Guardian, we ensure that we get our facts right. And when we write commentaries, which is the other side of the news, when we write our editorials, we ensure that we use language that doesn't damage, that doesn't disrupt, that doesn't get advertisers or customers to say, look, I'm not going to have anything to do with it because our business is customer centric. That we regard the customer as king, and you don't annoy the customer. You have to ensure that they trust this product. That is what brings business.
Okay.
Unless you just close the business.
Thank you. So you're saying the onus is on the editors to ensure that they're checking things even when they put things to you. Yes.
I'm sorry, I want to contribute to that.
Please do. Please do.
Thank you for articulating it so beautifully. But I want to add a perspective that it will be unfair on the media industry for us to expect them, either then or now, to save us from fake news and misinformation and disinformation. For those, I'm a young man, but for the uncles and aunties here, I can see Charles Otudo and Nkiru and all my bones and the other are here. But for those who started their career 20, 30 years ago, in those days of chain emails, that was viral fake news. One email, if you do something with something, people start forwarding. You see 1,000 emails. Fake news did not just start today. Virality did not just start today. It's always been there. That's one. Two, technology has disrupted media in such beautiful ways. I love it. I like to share a story of when I was an undergraduate. I had read a cover story in the Time magazine about Bono. Bono is the frontman of YouTube. The author's name is George Tiranke. He was the editor of Time. I wanted to respond. I had to write a letter to Time magazine. Of course, I don't know if they saw it, if they ever published it, nothing. But I remember that thing sometime last year, and I did a thread on it. And here was Josh, this same Josh, in my DM, followed me back on Twitter, and 1 hour later we were in conversation. That's where we are today. I think there is a big opportunity there. But you see, when we say PR is important, that the world needs to understand PR, whether it's in disinformation or in misinformation and all of that, there are communicators behind those activities. When you hear of troll farms, okay, there are communicators. So if we get to a point where professionals embrace ethical practice, whether you're a journalist, whether you're in advertising, whether you're in public relations, what then happens is that most of the so-called bad behavior gets reduced drastically. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was about Cambridge Analytica. If you look at democracy and the threat to democracy globally, you will see. So, one, I think that there is a role that communication people need to play because we are the ones that help organizations advertise. We are the ones that help them communicate. That's one. Two, you see, governments across the world have a role to play in terms of education. Each time you copy something and you share it on a group that you are on or you send to your friend, whether you are aware it's fake or not, you are spreading fake news if it is false. But you see, I've seen extremely educated people spread fake news because they don't know. How do we get to a point where the citizens, people understand the basic principles of knowing, of checking whether this is correct or not? You don't have to have all the softwares. You don't have to work at the garden. We all probably I have a mother-in-law that half of the broadcast she sends me, I will take time to say, but mommy, if you check this. and this person retired as a principal, has postgraduate degrees everywhere. But that's so the job to be done, in my view, is to be able to train the people growing up better in such a way that they're not a part of the problem. But for us communicators to be so influential across every step of society that we can stop these bad practices when we spot them. Thank you.
How can the Nigerian public relations industry uphold trust, truth, and transparency in a time just like, this is the flip side of the media now. They, publish these things, but how about us who put these things out? Also with I think you were also saying anybody can be an editor. Somebody who has an Instagram can just say, "Oh, PR professional, PR expert," you know. And so, how do I ensure that there's, professional delivery that upholds truth, trust, and transparency without now further, destroying the perception that people have about the profession?
Any serious business wouldn't just find an Instagram account that says PR expert and say, yes, we want to engage them. There is a process you would, if in any other industry, which should also apply to PR, you should always look for people who have this track record of success. Because anyone can come to you and tell you PR, the principles are the same across industries. However, what you really need for that successful PR program is relationships and expertise. And if someone doesn't have that, you're not going to have a successful program. In addition, I believe in our industry here in Nigeria, we have bodies and organizations like APRA, NIPR, PR CAN. And if you look at other parts of the world, like the UK, for example, they have CIPR and all these organizations and bodies where you can sort of verify the agencies or the professionals that you're looking for. So they become a reference point for when you are looking for a professional. These bodies and organizations become the reference point when you are looking for people that have the expertise that you need. As practitioners as well, we also have a responsibility to be truthful in terms of what we can deliver, how we can deliver, and if a campaign is not going well, what sort of feedback are you giving to your client? A lot of times we've experienced clients who now don't want to pay the value of what you want to charge simply because they've used another PR agency in the past who didn't deliver on the work. So we have a responsibility as PR professionals as well to execute our work to the best of our ability, whatever it is we're promising our clients that we're going to do, to nail those things, because it's our responsibility to sort of maintain that reputation. So when agency X fails to deliver on their work, it's affecting the entire industry as a whole. And it's affecting the next agency, for example, should a client decide that they're going to go to another agency.
I thought that was a very good answer. Thank you, Bidemi. I'm going to go quickly to still in the vein of all of this truth, trust, and transparency. In a fame-obsessed world, this is for you now, Adebola. I just want to follow on this thread. Where people are seeking PR just for being famous. I know how some people come and tell me, Omawumi, how can we make this a trend now? Like, okay, what is the news about this? Like, what's the essence? And you see that it's empty, But people are just seeking fame and they want to throw money and make it go viral or something. What is the best way to ensure that we're using PR for good, as opposed to the person who can pay the biggest money and just put things out there? Sincerely, I mean, if we want to make anybody famous, we can do that, right? How do we ensure that as professionals, as practitioners, we're able to use PR for good?
You know, earlier he spoke about news and people sharing fake news. There is a dopamine from breaking news that has created this cycle. We're currently in a season where immediate gratification has sort of defined our existence. And so I can't judge anyone who wants to use PR for whatever they choose to use PR for. I can only hope that people who want the fame, hug the limelight, will do anything to have it, to have followers, to have views, will benefit from it the way they hope to benefit from it. As a practitioner, one of the key things we do when we advise our clients is developmental communication. We tell them about developmental marketing. I don't pitch it to my clients to force them to buy computers or build something for slum to school, take the 100 million they want to spend on the concert and use it to change a village or build a hospital. And I have assured them that I will bring you all the celebrities you want to that hospital. But we would be able to create a bigger impact in the community. At the same time, we will get you the publicity you want for doing good. Because when you say PR for good, as a PR company, my job is to get my clients to do good. And then I can do storytelling based on their good works and not just on their promises of enjoyment when you use their brand. I've made this speech to several brands. Let us take part of your concert money. Let us take part of the money you use for ambassadorship. And let us take it directly to the people. I remember in COVID time, I pitched to some of our clients. What we do in our company is, whenever there is a crisis or a season that something is going on, we sit and brainstorm, and we come up with a pitch deck and tell our clients, in this season, this is what you should be doing. And I'm going to share this idea. If anyone takes it, just say that you remember that Adebola said it. So in COVID times, I said to my clients, a number of them, I said, can we create a truck? A truck that would go around Nigeria with food, with all the amenities that people need, with money, because people needed money in that time. With money, give money into the hands of Nigerians. We will carry a camera and follow you. We will get stuck in the mud. The truck will break down. You will meet one old woman, you give her money, she will dance, she will be happy. You will change lives, but we will create a powerful video that doesn't show your promise. When we watch ads, I see Udeme and all those ads that brands show us. They are usually stories that they tell. They're not real. So I'm saying to my brands, why don't you actually do this for real? Why don't you make the Udeme a living man? Why don't you take Ifeanyi from Aba and take his business? Take about 25 of them. Let's grow their business over 5 years and tell that story in 5 years' time. Let's begin to plan our stories. So when we communicate as a company, our stories are real stories. When people connect with us as a brand, it is not just on promise. It's actually on impact. But the beauty of this is that you are truly developing the country that you live in. And at the same time, you are also getting brand value. And so as a PR practitioner, our job, my job, has been to advise my clients in doing good, and then I creatively create the power of communication and storytelling to connect to the hearts of the people. And again, I will remind you of what I said earlier, which is listening. We must always listen to what the people need. It is the pain point of your customers that you use in designing your products.
Great. Thank you so much. Nkiru, I'll come to you now. Following up on the thing we talked about with technology disrupting, journalism, communications, disrupting every industry actually. And most brands are they're relying on technology and all of these digital platforms to engage their audiences, right? Do you think they're using this effectively? How can brands, really leverage digital to communicate? We'll see on maybe International Women's Day, one brand would have done something stupid, or you're like, do they have communicators in that company? So how do you think they're using it well, especially here in Nigeria? And how can we leverage technology to communicate with audiences?
Thanks, Omawumi. Look, I think that the pandemic forced everyone out and forced everyone towards digital. So I feel like less and less we will have to ask if any brand is using digital, because I think everyone came out from the woodworks. There's literally no brand who isn't on digital. I think perhaps the second thing is to also ask what your strategy is. And I find, and I'm going to encourage communicators today, never jump into tactics. And you find that when people are talking communication, you hardly find someone who comes to present, and half the time when I look at these presentations, they say, and these are the channels, social media. I'm like, keep it down, keep it down, keep it down. What's the strategy? So who are you? Who's your audience? What are you trying to achieve? And that would help you decide on what digital tools you use. And I often say for digital, there's always a push and a pull. The pull first can be listening. You would find big agencies who don't have listening tools, and there are tons. YouTube, we can, mention a lot of them non-stop. So I think that first you should invest, in technology tools that allow you to listen. And this allows you listen even to the barest comments, that people are making about your brand. And that's where the pull comes through. And then you go back to your drawing room to say, what then is my push strategy? And you may find that, for all that you thought, I'm not sure what brand to use. Let's say you are a social impact brand and you are struggling, trying to use this channel or this tool, and that's not the right channel or tool for you. So you've got to be clear first, on what your strategy is, and that would allow you go straight into digital. I find that digital in itself is not the end. It's a pull tool and it's a push tool, but all the while aligned to what your strategy is. Time will not allow me to tell you a story of a brand who rushed, into digital, and it just wasn't, the audience, it wasn't the right audience, it wasn't the right tool. So you've got to think about, what your strategy is before you jump onto digital as a tool. I hope that was valuable.
Very valuable. And I will just come back to you, Adebola, because our question segues into yours. Back to when we talk about brands not using digital correctly or communicating effectively. Today, youth especially do not fail to call out brands or anybody. Somebody could just have seen you buying food somewhere and they're like, I just saw Adebola was buying food. He didn't let me buy and all that. They're tweeting and tagging, so how can today's brands really leverage truth, trust, and transparency in a way that they're maintaining brand reputation, such that, of course, you will, like Nkiru said, you would always, offend someone. You can't escape it, right? But how do you ensure that at least you're building a solid reputation in a way that you are maintaining these three principles? And if you have any case study you can share, that would be great as well.
I think brands must go to the professionals. If you want to be healed, when you're sick, you go to the doctor. But oftentimes brands look at PR and they really don't understand it. But I must ask you, do you buy umbrella when the rain has started? We buy umbrellas before the rain starts. In actual fact, the man selling umbrella will not be in the rain selling umbrella. So if the rain catches you at the bus stop, you rarely find someone selling an umbrella. And so people say, why do I need to hire an agency when I don't have a crisis? Well, because you need to fortify yourself before the crisis comes. Because you need to build a friendship with your customers. You need to get this very clear, this statement. You need to build a friendship with your customers so that the day that trouble comes, your friends stand by you. Just think about it for a second. When trouble comes, your friends always stand by you. You will say that, oh, the good friends is with me when I'm in trouble. And so the job of the PR agency to any organization is to teach you, guide you on how to build friends in your customer. We always say in our company that we turn customers into raving fans and friends. And so that's the first thing. You should hire an agency. When you hire the agency, demand from the agency to give you a crisis management protocol, both for prevention and to also engage when it happens. Prevention oftentimes is even how you have built your brand. Let me advise brands. You tell brands, you engage journalists, you think you can just give them envelopes, you can this, you can that. But do you really even know them? And have you also shown them the heart of your brand? Many organizations don't show the heart of their brand, the soul of their brand, to the people that they want to write about their brand. In today's world, people are very people are driven by personalities. So your brand as an organization must have a persona that can connect and speak to people. And so have your protocol. When crisis happens, remember that people need you to be humble. But you would also be bold. Because I think for flow, no, this all of them match me. So be humble but bold. So you need a PR professional to guide you on how your boldness will not rub people off the wrong way. Do not be condescending. You must show understanding and empathy. You must be kind and show redemption. But again, sometimes there's some crises you don't even have to say a word. Some things are brand are running over. And you will call me, I'll tell you, pay first. Because what I will tell you, you will not think that is serious. So when you pay me, I'll not tell your guy, this crisis don't say a word. But you need to believe in me. So when you pay me, you will believe in that advice. You know. So I mean, there are a number of things more, you know, but I think the key thing for organizations is hire an agency when the rain is not falling, so that it can be your umbrella when the rain comes.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you my own story about that. Someone was sending me the wahala yesterday, and I'm like, you need to get a retainer. So I'm coming to you, Ayeni, because this is just, it comes straight to you, the same question, right? Now I want to look at it. In what ways, what burning issues in crisis management do you think organizations have not implemented, aside from not preparing before the rain, in their structure? And how can they use truth, trust, and transparency to, really thrive and come through during, these tough times? Yeah, so we're wrapping up our panel now, but this is really the key thing of today's event.
Thank you, um, Omawumi. And it's what I'm going to say is just going to be a summary of what he has said, what Adebola has said, and some of what Nkiru has said. You don't begin to manage a crisis when the crisis has happened. It's like America is the biggest military in the world. It's not when the war starts that you start to build your army. So our organizations need to demonstrate the value they place on their reputation based on the kind of investment they make in their communications team. When clients come to us, we take a look at their team. Oh, you don't even have anybody that is in charge of PR. We can't work for you because you can't get value out of us, really. Or you have just one person and that person also manages HR, manages admin. I'm like, sorry. We say maybe the first thing you need to do is to put your house in order. That's the best way you can get value out of your so I say it's a summary of what's been said because he talked about people plucking reporters from newsrooms and putting them in PR roles. I used to be a journalist and I entered PR with arrogance. I was, even if I say so myself, I was a damn good and very successful journalist. I entered PR thinking I knew everything. I didn't study PR, I studied microbiology. But by the first year or two, I realized that I didn't know Jack. Yes, I could write. I was just a reporter. And she talked earlier about people around just giving you the right advice. I remember driving to Lagos Business to meet with Dr. Phil Osagi. That my business is doing well, but I'm just a publicist. I want to do more. Maybe 2007 or 8, and they said, go and study diploma here, go and do this here. In fact, I think it was president of PR at the time. They refused me joining PR, and they insisted. I did all of that. It took me sitting in those classes for me to realize how much I didn't know. Right? So he said it. You can be a good journalist. It's a prerequisite. You probably have some tools you need to succeed in PR, but it's not enough. That's one. But two, understanding that the brand, the business that you built for 20 years can go down in one day. I like the case study of the woman that was head of comms for a company and she was flying to South Africa. I'm sure most of you know that story. And she tweeted, oh, I'm going to South Africa, something, and she made one, maybe I won't catch HIV or so, one very, very, by the time she landed, her career was over. Easily. So if, whether you run a bank or a school or a tech company or you run a country, for me, the demonstration of how serious you are and how successful you want to be is how formidable your communications team is. Not only in, to go back to Adebola's point, not only in how much noise you want to make. Oh, please make all the noise in the world. You are entitled to it. But to understand what is the purpose of this noise that you're trying to make? What kind of change are you trying to cause? And the last case study I'd like to speak about before I give the mic over is that actually when issues happen, it's one of the few times in your business that you can demonstrate your true character. Whether all these things you've been saying, Adebola talking about, all these things you've been saying, the chance you have, when the Ethiopian airline went down, right? And you realize that the first set of visuals and the anecdotes and talking points that we saw was from the CEO of the airline right at the crash point. It was not a press release, right? As compared to the BP spill, you all know that where the visual that went viral was of the CEO saying, I can't wait for this to be over for me to get my life back. So actually, even in our personal relationships, it's when you and your partner or you and a colleague are fighting, that's when you know what they really feel about you. Because it's, you understand? So it's in terms of conflict, organizations have an opportunity to actually demonstrate their true character. That what Adebola spoke about, being honest, being humble, and all of that. Like just saying this matters, and not only saying those things. 6 months after, if people go back and measure, they see that you actually did those things. And I think we are in a much better place. What I'd like to see is that the kind of changes I've seen with corporate organizations, and I see a lot of internal corporate comms people here, the kind of changes I've seen on the agency and consultancy side, my dream is to see it in government. Because at the end of the day, there is little we can achieve if we don't transform the quality of professionals that work on the day-to-day government. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Bidemi, this is for you. It's really about still on challenge. He mentioned how he had to go back to school because he saw that he didn't know Jack, right? Right. What are some challenges? I mean, it doesn't have to be education. What are some challenges you faced in setting up your agency, and even some biases as a young woman in PR, owning our own business? Some of the things, and how were you able to power through?
You just said it, young woman. I mean, I think over the last few years, we've experienced. I run an all-female agency, and I don't run an all-female agency because it's just cool to do so. If you look at the data of where women are placed in terms of decisions, they're in admin roles. And for me, that was a personal challenge to myself, that I want all women making decisions, right? And important decisions, doing PR for good. So we've walked into rooms where even just the look of young women, you can sort of see that judgment. In addition, I got in comments like, well, maybe you need a man to give you another perspective, right? When it comes to strategy. And then we've gotten things like, we're not very trusting in young agencies. And I, for that particular client, this was 2016. They had done a pitch with 32 agencies, I believe. We were top 3, finally top 2. And the reason why we weren't picked then in 2016 was because they weren't very trusting in young agencies. And for me, I remember crying, and sort of being very emotional about it. But the truth is, it sort of motivated me to work. Because ultimately, when people understand what you can deliver and the skill sets that you have, the relationships that you have, and the expertise that you have, that should be the deciding factor. So I would say with these biases and some of these challenges that I've experienced over time has only motivated me to work harder and to build something that is substantial, that when you sort of say LSF, there is substance, and we are being identified as an agency that can get the work done. So everything has sort of just been motivating me to sort of move and build something better over time.
I like that. We're going to go to the rapid fire now. I find that audiences enjoy the rapid fire questions more, so I like to do them. These are very quick, fun, easy answers. Straight up, no explanations. Mr. Martins, 3 things you do the first thing when you wake up.
I look for the news.
Right. All right. Nice. Bidemi, what do you do? First three things.
I check the time to see if I can go back to sleep. If I have more sleeping time, I check my emails. If there are any Slack notifications, I sort of like, should I read it? Should I not read it? So those are pretty much the first things.
Nobody's reading their Bibles here. Nobody.
So I check my WhatsApp. That's the first thing because that's my primary communication tool. I go make coffee because I can't start my day if I don't have coffee. And I just sit on my balcony and just catch up with news and updates. That's it.
If you would define PR to a 5-year-old in your own words, how would you do that?
Yeah, thank you. Don't mind Omawumi. Look, I think I'll tell the 8-year-old, I'll say to him or her, you know how people tell you stories, right? Okay, so that's what PR is. The only thing we want out of that story and listening to is that we want you to be able to think in a certain way or take a certain action. And that's because even though PR is storytelling, it's storytelling for which we need an outcome out of. We're not just telling you a story because we want to tell you a story. We need you to be able to think in a different way or take a certain action. So I think that would be my best way to define it.
I love that. I think that was so good. What's the best career advice you've ever received?
So because PR is about provoking action, the best PR advice I would give, or I've received and I give is be obsessed with your customers. Be obsessed with them, to know them, to live them, to be them. So that when you create campaigns, you can truly speak to how they feel and their pain points. Because it's the connection that you make with them that will provoke the emotion of the action. Connection, provoke emotion for action.
Look at that. Hey, I love that. Ayeni, one skill every PR practitioner should have is, especially in 2022 and going forward,
Critical thinking.
simple, straight up. Why is that?
It's the foundation, is the platform upon which you can build everything else that you have to do. Becoming a subject matter expert, being able to study, being able to be curious on everything. It's a knowledge industry that we are in. So you're not able to really make any meaning. If you, I don't know, but yes, yeah. And it's not something that I find that is common these days.
Right. Bidemi, what do you think? One skill.
I would say communications in addition to critical thinking. I mean, it's the essential part of the work that we do in addition to sort of just having great written, oral skills. You have to be a great listener. You have to be able to understand body language when a tone is changing. When you are also putting out a message, you have to also don't let your own emotions color the message you're trying to pass across. So communication is a key skill.
Mr. Martins, one thing PR practitioners do that annoy you as an editor.
As an editor,
Yes.
I think that PR practitioners annoy us as editors. I don't want to say me as editors when they come when there is a crisis. That you need to touch base in peacetime.
I love that. Oh, that's
Touch base in peacetime.
That's a quotable quote. Finally, one last word from everyone. And if your last word can be what the future of PR is for you, what you think it is, great. If you have something more profound, go for it. One last word, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think that the negative connotation that the gentleman talked about, the keynote speaker, and I think anytime you look at PR, and you see an envelope, PR, I think that negative connotation is not good. There should be
Right. The brown
communication.
we have PR. But
Yes.
it's journalists that use that word.
Well, no, it is
Is that PR for us?
It's not only
You know?
journalists. It has gone viral.
So we need to banish it.
Yes, it needs to change perception because perception management is key, and we
Yes.
didn't discuss it here. Perception management, because a lot of people go there with that wrong impression, and when you create, people are running away from creating PR department. They are talking about communications department
Awesome.
because of this negative connotation.
Right.
And most people do not understand. And I think that we should begin to influence curriculum developers, that practitioners around this table should be teaching public relations.
Thank you. Last word from you, Adebola. Yes.
I think my last word actually doesn't really have much to do with PR.
Okay.
I just want to remind all of us in this room that how we contribute to negativity and tear down and judgment on social media needs to be checked. As individuals, we must always ask ourselves, really and truly, do I need to retweet this?
Right.
Really and truly, do I have all the facts before I join in this cancel culture? Really and truly, why do I revere? One of the most amazing things happened to me when Aliko Dangote had the crisis. And I went to the page of the girl, and her followers had gone from 2,000 to maybe 30,000. And I saw some of my aunties that I respect following her. And I was wondering, why are you following this girl? What do you want to see? You want to see the next post she'll post with the man's butt crack? Really? Why? And so I think that the elite, so many of us that have education or a semblance of it, have a responsibility to think twice when we engage in those kinds of negativity, destroying people's image, canceling people, when you truly do not know the version of their truth. Because everyone has a version of their own truth. And you need to appreciate it, you need to respect it, and you need not to be a part of those who attack them for no reason. I say to people, my final word, stop, because you have no truth. Do not accuse others without proof.
I love that. Thank you so much. Nkiru.
Right, I think I've had the good fortune of doing marketing and public relations all of my career. And I think the one thing I'd like to say to every practitioner here is that PR is not the poor cousin. And I say so because I find a lot of intimidation of the PR guys. They're thinking, oh, we're the smaller guys, we don't have the budget, So you come in already seeming defeated. I'd like to say to you that PR is a middle child. Mr. Jemine spoke to us about being bridge builders. What does a middle child do? A middle child joins the older child and the younger child. So PR, you are a bridge builder, you are not the poor cousin.
I love that. And I like to say always to people, PR is no longer a nice to have, it's a must have, right? One last word. You're holding the mic, so just go.
Thanks so much, Debola and Nkiru, for that. It's very important. And I just like to add before I give my last word that I have a lot of friends in advertising who are now jealous of PR. If I had one friend say to me that, "Anna, PR they do before, I come move to advertising," because we work for the same clients, and the kind of access we have to senior leadership, the kind of influence we have on strategy and all of that, they don't have it. And it's because, and this changed between 2019 and now. So we can take credit for it because COVID came, everybody was afraid, and PR rose to the challenge. Yeah. So just to thank you for articulating that. What I'd just like to say as my final word is that the world is becoming smaller. I'm desperate for us to be intentional about no longer playing just a local game, right? We can make impact at home and overseas. I grew up following Miss Universe, Most Beautiful Girl in the World, all of those global things. America will do an event in one city. They will call it World Series. Nobody else is participating, right? And we are fighting to belong to that, right? We need to understand that we can be part of the global conversations, or we can also start our own global conversation. My dream is for the day where, as the world becomes smaller and smaller, that we are not just passengers and citizens in that we are active players, or actually that we are influencers. That's what drove the concept of World PRD. it could have been Nigeria PRD. We just said, but wait, somebody in the US will create something and say, it's war. Why can't we do it?
Round of applause for Plaque,
Right?
please.
Yes.
So I just want us, in our personal careers, in our businesses, it is possible to make a dent on the world. Thank you.
Right. Bidemi, our lady, ending this panel.
My last word is technology, and he just talked about how the world is becoming smaller, and that's because of technology. He's created World PRD, for example, and there are multiple events going on across the world, online, across different digital platforms, because technology has enabled that. So COVID came, technology has changed how we work, even as comms professionals. You don't need to have meetings anymore. Clients don't even want to have those physical meetings anymore. So technology is enabling that. Then, of course, the growth of the multiple platforms. And then you also have the metaverse, which is here, right? And it's a space that we all need to understand. We sort of all need to adopt this as practitioners as well. There are now new channels for strategy, and deciding what channels your PR programs will go on, is now the new challenge for us to adopt technology.
Thank you so much, everyone.